Remember, in this video series we are following this kit here, which you can buy from modmypi.com, so head over to their website. The full link to buy this is in the description of this video. So we're now on video 8, which is the light sensor, or light dependent resistor to give it its component name. So we have the code 8_LDR light dependent resistor.py. So we're going to break down how that code works, and we're also going to look at the electronic circuit, how we actually wire up this device. So we have this new circuit, and we have two new components. We have the light dependent resistor here, and we have the capacitor here, and it's all connected together with a single wire up to the GPIO, which I think is pin number 3, GPIO 3 on the new boards and 1 on the old boards. A lot of the code for this particular one's come from the Raspberry Pi Spy and the Adafruit website, so check out those links to see a bit more information about these diagrams. We're going to introduce variables with strings, so how to actually put words and text into it, how to look at date and time, and how to write and read from a file. So we have our standard code on the left hand side here. The first block you should be fairly familiar with, which is how to set up the Python interpreters and all the modules that we're using. This function here is designed to set up the GPIO pins. So this is called slightly later in the script, and it goes through and it sets all the pins to an output and to a low state. This section sets up the file loop and takes a reading from the light dependent resistor. But how does this actually work? We have 3 different things that we're going to measure, which are time, resistance and capacitance. The resistance is the light dependent resistor. The more light we shine through it, the lower the resistance and the quicker the voltage can flow through it. So in short, we measure how long it takes for the circuit to reach a voltage that is great enough for the GPIO to register it as high. And so as we change the light levels, that takes longer or shorter, and then we get our reading from that. So we have the main while statement here of our program, and we have a variable called getDateTime. And what this does is it uses the datetime command on the operating system to record the current date and store that date into a variable. Now what we have here is we have datetime.datetime.now, and then we have it then pass it with this command here, which changes the datetime format into a string, which means it can be then stored into the variable. And then we have year, month, day, hour, minute, second. So you can change that if you want to. So that's what that there's for. We then have this here, which takes the reading from the function, and this is the actual line that calls that function that makes the reading. Note that it has 3 in the brackets, and that's the actual GPIO pin we're running. So if you're using a version 1 Raspberry Pi, you're going to want to change that to 1. And what this will do is it will just print the current results to the screen, so we actually get a reading to our screen. So we have a line of code here that says FO, or foo, equals open, and then the path to our file, which is called foo.txt. And what it basically means is file open equals, and then we open and read the contents of the file, and saves that to the variable. Then what it will do is it will say get date and time, so it will read the variable from up here, and it will write that variable to that file. \n is a character line feed, and that will write that at the end of the file. What that basically does is it just enters an enter, so it goes on to the next line. And then the last line we have here actually closes that file off, saves it. It will then wait a second and then start to the top of the while loop. So let's just see that and how that works in action. Okay, so let's look how we set up this particular breadboard circuit. So you want to take your light dependent resistor, and you're going to want to connect one leg to the positive rail and one leg just to one of the normal pins. The capacitors have a particular direction, so there's a negative pin, which is that little line there, and you'll want to connect that up to the negative rail, and then the positive leg you want to stick to the same rail as the resistor. And in between the light dependent resistor and the capacitor, you're going to want to connect up the cable that goes to your GPIO. So it's actually quite a simple layout. So I got it wrong there, so I quickly adjusted it, and the other one goes up to the GPIO pin 3. So we just want to check that our code is there, and we're going to run the 8_LDR LDR.python code. That's the one we're going to run in a moment. But if you remember, the first thing we need to do is to create a text file that we can write our results to, because we're going to open that file. So on the touch space foo.txt command, which will create a blank file called foo.txt, run ls-l to make sure that file is created, and then we're just going to run our script. There we go, and you can see there it starts writing to the screen the value. So a general ambience of a room is about 70. I'm just going to use my mobile phone to put a really bright light, and we can see it goes down to about 28. So the resistance level goes down to about 28. These aren't quite synced up because I did record them at slightly different times. So apologies if there's a little bit of delay there. I then turn the lights out, and you can see that goes up to almost 90. And then again, I think up to 90, and then I put the light back on again, and it shoots back down all the way down to 15 at this point. So you may want to have to play with that. Results might vary because I recorded these two bits at different times. But that's it, working. So one last thing we can do is we can just double check that file we created, foo.txt, and the last reading will be written to that file. So just run the more command on foo.txt, and there we go. That was the time of the reading and what the light sensing was at the time. If you want to learn more about Python and programming, I recommend that you go to the Code Academy's website and follow their Python track. They have a fantastic interactive website that can teach you far more than I can do in these short videos. So if you want